Good afternoon, Bruin fans, and welcome to episode 7 of season 22 with Something Bruin here with Coach Cook, and it is homecoming week here. Coach Cook, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. We survived so far. So many distractions with homecoming. Players are being pulled here or there, but I'm excited. This gives our kids something they didn't have, in the 2020 regular season, if that makes sense. But I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Mark?
Hey, I'm doing great, and I just want to say how exciting it is here now that we're in October. Last week was a home game. This
Yes,
week is homecoming, so definitely a lot of excitement here. Going back to last week's game against Indian River there at 1968 Bruin Place.
absolutely. It is. You can feel it in the air. It's a lot of buzz. Our kids have been working hard. Our Bruin Nation are starting to take notice, and we're excited. It's homecoming.
Right. Yeah, and the thing is last week, I mean, with Indian River, but their coach is a Bruin alum, Brandon Carr, but when the ball gets kicked off, I know that our defense gave up some touchdowns, but boy was our offense kicking on every cylinder here with Trotman. I mean, he
Absolutely.
did it with his legs and also with his arms. Only 2 incompletions the whole game there for our signal caller.
Yeah, he's had a great year so far. I've sent him messages, and 8 we trust. He's going to be everything we want is coming through number 8, and I'm okay with that. He's a senior. He's a proven leader. He's a great guy in the locker room, but he also has a personality, to make guys laugh, smile, and feel a part. So, at the end of the day, 8 did a great job last week. Our receivers did a phenomenal job catching the ball. And the 9 car, man, that blizzard warning, he did a phenomenal job running behind his pad level and pass protecting. Very pleased with our offense.
Yes, and before we talk about the 2 teams that we're going to honor tomorrow with it being homecoming, I would definitely have to say that one of the highlights that stood out for me last week with watching the highlights there through Huddle was a little swing pass there to number 2, C.J. Frazier, and a little wreck yards take it to the house, 65 yards pass and catch.
Absolutely, man. 2 is playing, like I said, phenomenal football right now, and he's, it's being recognized. He picked up a U of R offer earlier this week, and just picked up another one today. So, at the end of the day, he's playing good football. This is what seniors should look like this year, and to see him be a part of my system for the last 3 years, you could tell he's figured it out and he's flying around and having fun. His counterpart, number 1, just as equally effective. He kind of put the exclamation point
right
on the night with that touchdown run. So, very pleased with our guys, our seniors, our leaders. And like I said, 2 is just playing great football.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that last comment, I mean, number 1 there, even with looking at the defensive stats, he led the defense in tackles, so definitely leading the way. Exclamation point there on the offense, and then on defense, there with nine tackles, leading the way on defense.
Yeah, non-physical tackles too. He's a very smart football player. He knows the right angles. He's very disciplined in his craft, and he knows how to stop a play before it gets started. Paul did a phenomenal job for us. And again, as we mentioned quite a bit last year with the Broadbents and the Mossy Brunings of the world, this is what you want out of your seniors. You want those guys to really, carry the torch for these young men and other guys to the left and right of them, and just say, hey, follow my lead, and they've done that so far throughout this season.
Yes, and let's see, how's JV? Let's see, they went out to Indian River last Thursday, and then they played Hickory yesterday with a threat of rain, and this morning got a good amount of rain. So I know that JV here has had 2 games since the last time we got together.
Correct. JV is playing good. Coach Thomas and Coach E and the rest of our coaching staff, they've done a great job not only coaching those young men, but developing them in their and teaching them how to be fundamentally sound. Last night, obviously, they went over to Hickory and came back with an early victory. I say early because I think Coach Thomas said he got home around 8:50. Most of our JV games have ended well after 9 o'clock in the past weeks. But JV's playing well. We got some young guys, some freshmen that are starting to, get comfortable within our system and how we like, our brand of football. And, just pleased with them. Our O-line did a phenomenal job. We always talk about skill guys, but those O-linemen and D-linemen have really been working from a junior varsity standpoint to help these backs and athletes make the plays they do Thursday nights. In this case, it was a Wednesday night.
Yeah, and for our Bruin flashback, I mean, to kind of tie into the varsity game last Friday, having Coach Arculin on earlier today, and you can catch that interview on Apple Podcasts. Search Sports Talk with Rags, or my YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Sports Talk with Rags. But earlier today, with interviewing Coach Arculin, he talked about how he was here last Friday against Indian River. He has a prior commitment, can't make the homecoming game tomorrow, but just how he has definitely enjoyed meeting you, talking to you, seeing how you lead the team, and how you and him just had a picture at Art Brander Stadium, and same location as when he was leading the Bruin football team.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Great interaction. I think last year around this time, I was finally introduced. We finally connected. One thing I picked up from Coach Arculin is he has a great memory, because I shared my cell phone number with him on the field. He did not type it in his cell phone, but later on, I want to say Sunday or Monday, I received a text from him. So he has a great memory, or he has some good contacts, but to get my number. But it was just awesome. We talk about Bruin royalty. We talk about, another pillar of our program and the rich history and tradition that started with him. And as we spoke about, Coach Art Brandriff, and many, everybody who's been a part of this from a leadership standpoint, it's just awesome. And to be able to pick his brain and then hear his positive praise about the direction our program is going. And as I shared with you before we started, to me, I took it as this is a man that has coached the game, watched the game, and understands where the game should be heading. And he hit all three, in my humble opinion, Friday night when he shared that information with me.
Yes, and he says that if I don't text him, or he's not physically at the game about 11 o'clock at night, he'll hit the VHSL scoreboard there on their website, and the first thing is to see how Bruins varsity did.
Absolutely. So, very, very pleased for his support and all the other alums and Bruin Nation. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and that leads right into our next segment. We talked about it briefly last week. I saw 2/3 of the Bruin backfield there on YouTube. 1997, Indian River at Western Branch at Indian River game, the Chesapeake game of the week, and it had Keith Brunell, running for a first down, and then number 2 on a little counter play, taking it to the house. So how about that 97 team?
Great team, unselfish teammates. Every practice was physical. If we weren't, I guess, at each other's neck by the end of practice, it wasn't good enough. But just a lot of great guys that are still friends to this day. Maybe not in the same circles, but you can see a pod of 97 Bruins that continue to fellowship and support We were a team that just wanted to win. We didn't care about the stats. We didn't care about the record. And I shared that with our team last year. We happened to go 10-0. It's not by luck. We had a great year. We averaged over 39 points a game, and Coach Jay pulled us out at halftime in most cases. But just to not to run the score up on teams. However, with that being said, we just wanted to win. And, little did we know, each week we went 1-0. And then next thing you know, we're in a district championship game, probably one of the most memorable ones during that time, outside of the early battles with the Deion Dyers, the Dre Blyes, the Sharon Stiffs, and, all those guys, TJ Giles and those guys. So, at the end of the day, our biggest test was that night. We played Deep Creek, and we found a way to go 1-0, and we finally won the district championship. Correction, first time in 20 years. I think the last time they won was 77, and we happened to win it in 97, 20 years later. So, just a lot of good memories. But it really started with us in practice. Our biggest battles made our Friday night so much easier and fun.
Yeah, and with having Keith Burnell on the podcast last year, I mean, he even talked about how in practices, I mean, even though you guys were teammates, you guys were competitive, to battle each other, and then on Friday nights, you guys had the same goal. I mean, so definitely how you preach, big team, little me.
Yep, absolutely. A lot of people don't realize that by the time we became seniors, you only went one way. So he had 11 offensive players and 11 defensive players. So, iron sharpens iron at that point, because now one side of the ball really can be held accountable. It kind of baffles me sometimes when offense isn't clicking, but defense is, but the same guy on defense plays offense, So at the end of the day, during that time in that season, Coach Jay was fortunate enough to have 11 offensive guys that were explosive, O-line, quarterback, backfield and receiver, including tight end Omar Hurdle. And then he was fortunate enough to have a defensive line, I would say led by many, but Avon Hodges really pops out. And then Anthony Wolf, who was a two-way guy, was a stud inside with Lawrence Ward and Andrew Delk. And then on the back end, Doug Casper and Troy Outland and John A. Somerville. I mean, you name it. It was playmakers all over the field that year and that season. I really feel like outside of the 8-2 team in '96, that could have easily went 10-0. We really finally figured it out in '97 to get to the next level.
And I would say that with looking at some of that game earlier today, I mean, where you talked about 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense, Merlin Vaughn, Richie Babb, and Mickey Irving that was doing the announcing there for Chesapeake Television. When Indian River had the ball, they gave some top names for Bruin defense. When we had the ball, they gave top different names. So definitely where, the last few years, there's a lot of two-way players. Definitely, I noticed the little bit that I watched that game, definitely different 22 guys.
Absolutely. And like I said, a couple went both ways. Anthony Wolf was our guard and middle linebacker. Probably arguably one of the best ever to play and wear Bruin uniform collectively, as an athlete. But, there's so many Bruin greats. That was just an awesome year, a year no one could take away. When you put that trophy in the air and you go back to the history books, it's always going to say, undefeated season, 1997, West Branch Bruins and Coach Lou Johnston as the leader of that program. But, I will say this because there's so many great Bruin eras, if that makes sense. Thank you to everybody. And this is not me being cliche. It's really from the heart. Being a leader of this program, you take in so much. But I just want to say to any Bruin that wore that uniform. We thank you for the platform that you guys have allowed our young kids in the 2022 season really be able to take in. So they value it. They appreciate you guys. And through me, they understand the history and tradition here at Western Branch High School. And it's fun. It's fun to do.
Well, you know what, Rashad, it's on a personal note, March of '87, my parents came in here for a house hunting trip, and Mill Creek was starting off, and, their appointment fell through. So the next day they went to Bailey's Creek, so we were one appointment away from being a Hornet family turned into a Bruin family,
There you
and
go.
here we are 35 years later, still supporting Western Branch. It's
Absolutely.
not only just a school, but a family.
It is. And I remember that note you sent earlier this week. Bruin pride is family. And that is true. Just looking at so many people being proud of high school football, that have been out of school for a long time means a lot. That means this city and our area still can shut down on a Friday night to support our young men that compete. But it is a family, and I'm glad to be a part and humbled to be the leader of this Bruin football program. And I thank all the parents and the fan supporters, teammates, old and new, of, just their patience in this process of rebuilding and restoring our program back to tradition.
Yeah, and the O2 team, I mean, the O2 team with celebrating their 20 years. I mean, don't know what people have in their own family, maybe their own kids, maybe working nights. So I don't know who's all gonna show up tomorrow night, but the 20th anniversary of the state semifinal team, and I texted Mr. Brandiff earlier this week, and he talked about how he's enjoying the interviews and everything, and he just talked about how that O2 team had to go on the road, for state semifinals. With being the road team, you got officials against you, and but just things didn't. The ball didn't bounce our way, but definitely a great season there for Bruin football to go to the state semis.
Absolutely. And much like 97, they were loaded. They had big time players. I hear stories, and we swap and we trade, kind of like what it looked like, and so on and so forth. They were loaded, and just for them to go 10-0 and to watch how they went about it. We mentioned, and it's not necessarily bragging or anything, but I think their largest margin of victory was versus Woodrow Wilson at the time, the new manor. To see those guys really just kind of play sound football and team football is just amazing. Their defense statistically was one of the top ones too, but I think with Ryan Pond at the helm and all the stud and stable of running backs in this new spread wing T offense Coach Jay came up with, not the traditional Delaware wing T, a lot of playmakers had a chance to make a play in that system, man. And was, just very happy for them and their accomplishments as well.
Yes, and it leads right into this year. I mean, we're at the homecoming week, looking at the VHSL weekly rankings, and I'm sorry, Group 1 through 5, but primarily 6A is what interests me. And from 1 through 5, we're within 2 points. So definitely a tight race here as we come down. We have 3 games left. A lot of the other teams have 4 games left.
Yep. And we're in a good spot. Everyone probably wants to be number 1. And I feel like, we don't drop a game and we do play a game. We could be sitting at 1 or 2, depending. But we're right where we need to be. That's just the way I always look at things. And sometimes where we are, we are the deceptive team. You know, it's the team that on paper we're 3, but when you line down, that's a number 1, number 2 seed. But we're in a good space. You know, we understand that some of the teams ahead of us still have more games to play. You have Oscar Smith, who has to play Phoebus, I believe, after Kings Fort. They play Kings Fort tomorrow, and then they turn around and play Phoebus, and then us. So, you know, we understand that there could be some changes. We don't cheer against our opponent. You know, we allow the chips to fall where they may, because we would respect and hope the same, you know, in our corner. But we understand it's football. I believe Manchester and Thomasdale, I might be wrong, but they have to play as well. And I believe those 2 teams are still undefeated going into their next few games coming up, or last 4-game stretch. So we'll see. And then you have Franklin County, man, sitting at 5. Sitting at 5. And you know, and I know that 5 doesn't mean anything to Franklin County. You know, their program brings it no matter where they go. They're a very good football team and football program. So yeah, we're sitting at 3, and we're fine. You know, it could be worse. You know, we could be 5, 6, 7, or 8, but you know, we're blessed to be at 3, and we're going to work hard each week to maintain that spot or move up.
Yeah, and the excitement around the homecoming. I mean, you know, I know in the guidance department we have a 92 alum, and you know, she's definitely posted how with her class reunion, and I know that some of her classmates have been texting me or posting on Facebook that they're coming into town. But you know, not only me, but also my wife, you know, Elizabeth, who's from Lake Taylor, but she works in the area. You know, people were asking her, hey, tell Mark, I need to know how to get tickets for Friday night. So
Right.
I've definitely, before I shared the news, I definitely went to GoFan myself. I know that Tamika said that she's got me covered tomorrow, but before I passed the word, I wanted to make sure that I was telling people the right app to download, and it seems pretty easy with that GoFan.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I would say, since you brought that up, 6 o'clock. If you can get here at 6, you know. Last year she said it was people getting in finally at halftime, you know, to watch last year's homecoming or be a part of last year's homecoming game and festivities. So my recommendation is, if you can, as safe as you can, try to get here as early as you can, because it's gonna be a crowd. No rain in the forecast tomorrow evening. A good, crisp, cool but fun homecoming night is what we have slated.
Yeah, but you know, cool, crisp. You know, but when you have 9 back there, you know, the meteorologists are wrong, but there's always a blizzard coming.
Isn't that right? I tell you what, no knocking, no meteorologists. They get it wrong, but the sportscasters get it right, don't they? You know, yes, that young man is just fun to watch, and he's even fun to watch in practice. Just because, you know, it's like you want to know what he's thinking, but as soon as he get the ball, you figured it out. But yeah, he's a great kid. One thing I saw last week, he fought through pain. Kind of got nicked up on their sideline, but found a way to come back maybe 1 or 2 plays later. And then you would have never known that he got a little nick or a bruise. But he's tough. He's a very tough kid and fun to watch.
Yes. Well, hey, Rashad, I know, let's see, JV played last night. So, you know, with the rain, kind of, I mean, the sun's actually out right now,
Yeah.
but, you know, I'm sure it's definitely nice to have a Thursday evening, you know, just to get ready for the festivities. I mean, with it being homecoming, there's got to be a pep rally scheduled tomorrow.
It's a lot. I think our fans could see my body language when you were getting ready to ask that question. Yes, there's a pep rally tomorrow. It's going to be during the school day, and this is our first pep rally since the 2019 season, if I'm not mistaken. If they did pep rallies then. So, you know, the school spirit is there. Just watching our players participate in the weekly, you know, kind of like costume themes that they have for each day is fun. You know, that not only are they football players, but they carry themselves just like classmates and human beings like everybody else. And, you know, to me, that speaks volume about the humbleness and the grounded mindset that our football program has and our football players have, you know, when it just comes just to the high school experience and having fun. But yeah, there's going to be a pep rally tomorrow during the school day for our kids, our students and staff and faculty and staff. And then there's going to be a parade. Okay, I believe that parade starts at 5, but it's going to be a parade. And after the parade, it's the homecoming court that will come in the stadium and so on and so forth. And then anybody who's coming, be ready for that light show.
Yeah.
Be ready for the light show. It's fun. It's a great atmosphere, and it's something new and unique for our football program.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk more about that light show here. I know that next week when we meet together, I know that it will be a road game, but that will definitely be something to talk about leading up to senior night. But you know, I would like to promote the football social media. You know, definitely the Western Branch football Facebook page. It brought back memories of, you know, talking about the pep rally, especially homecoming, and seeing back in the day, you know, the auditorium packed, you know, as you guys posted pictures from back in the day here with it being homecoming week.
Absolutely. Back down memory lane. But just a lot. You know, we talk about the rich tradition and the players, the coaches, Coach Thaddeus Hurl, you know, Coach Burt. Yeah. It's just so many, you know, that have really just kind of put in the work. And I know, you know, we're missing some in that later part of the early part of the 2000s, you know, under the 02 staff. I know that kind of changed over a little bit. And, you know, Coach, believe it or not, Chiron Stiff, you know, was coaching with Coach Jay at one point. So to see Bruins come back and really try to either help out or be a part of, you know, it's a very exciting time, and it can never get old because, you know, it's real tradition. But yeah, so, you know, today are some kind of like throwback themes and so on and so forth. And tomorrow will be a little more of 97 and 02. But we're also looking for 2012. You know, we want to bridge all these gaps of all the players that played and you know, made a contribution to our football program.
Yeah, and Coach Harrell, I mean, he coached JV basketball there when my brother was coming up. So I know that he was definitely involved in basketball and football his time at Western Branch.
Correct.
You know, just a lot of connections.
A lot. Even Coach Wright, you know, Coach Wright was out there. Even in 97, he was out there. And then Coach Donovan, Coach Decker. So it's so many, you know, men that have helped shape, you know, generations and helped shape decades. And, you know, you talk about generations. It was 3 of us that played at Western Branch, you know, Al Malik, Al Mustafa Cook, and myself. And then my 3 boys just came through or are still currently there. So, you know, it's kind of neat to see that next generation of Bruins that come through. And, you know, I'm hoping we get many, many more.
Yes, and I know when your wife posted a picture of, I think it was this year, you know, Devin, you know, but just talking about how Cook wearing a Bruin uniform. And I know I've mentioned how my sister and I, you know, were around Malik's age, you know, but I just commented saying, you know, hey, it's also great to see a second generation of Cooks.
There you go.
You know,
I didn't even see that yet, but yeah, it is. But it's so many great kids here. You know what I mean? Right. And as long as you stay in the game and you stay in it for the right reasons, those kids that we coach now, those kids we coach years ago, their children hopefully will come through the same system that, you know, we're creating here now. So it's just fun. It is very fun. You know, I talked to Coach Jay quite a bit. You know, he coached his son during his time. Yeah. And he talked about the peaks and the valleys, but the pros that also came with it. And to me, these are lifelong relationships that you're not only building with guys you coach with that are like your son, or sons. But this is also a moment that you have these memories with your own that you can have for years to come. So it's a lot of good history and just blessed. We're blessed here in the positions we're in.
Hey, and Brian, on a side note, with Old Dominion being in the Sun Belt, Georgia Southern being in
Yes,
the Sun Belt, they play in Norfolk next Sunday. So, I
yes,
mean, I've been busy. I haven't reached out to Brian, and I haven't talked to Coach Jay that much this season. But there could be a possibility that Brian's in town for next Friday's game.
absolutely, absolutely. So we will see.
Yes. Well, hey, and a little side note with Bob Parker coaching Indian River in that 97 team, one of his longtime assistants, Scott Johnson, before he
Yes,
came over to Western Branch, because I know that he was defensive coordinator when Vince played at Western Branch, but Scott was on the Indian River sidelines there in that 97 game.
absolutely. Yep, yep.
So, but all right, all right, Rashad. Well, hey, thanks for your time as always. Every Thursday afternoon. Any final tidbits here for Bruin Nation here with especially the homecoming, and we play Hickory Hawks
Yeah.
tomorrow night.
Well, we told our kids we're the entertainment on Friday. With all the distractions going on, homecoming courts, and the football players are back to dancing, creating a dance routine with the cheerleaders and, all those things. We're still the entertainment on Friday night, so we got to be able to lock in. We had a pretty kind of like okay week as far as preparation, but we understand why. It's a lot of things going on. They had a powder puff game on Monday and, just a lot. So, our goal is to go out there and, again, continue to improve, continue to look, become or look a better version of what we looked like a week ago. We just want to see improvement. We're not taking Hickory lightly, but we do want to go out there and play to our standard and to our level of football.
All right. Well, hey, Bruin Nation, that's a wrap here with the homecoming edition here of Something Bruin with Coach Cook. And Rashad, I'll shoot you a text when I'm heading out to the stadium. And see you tomorrow, man.
Sounds good. Bruin Nation, come on and pack the den. Go Bruins.
All right. Yes. Hashtag Bruin Pride. Hashtag Bruin Nation. All right. Good night, everybody.